Kia ora and welcome to Tarmac. I'm Harry.
And I'm Matthew. Behind us is Nissan's longest running nameplate. It's the Patrol.
That's right, it is the last hurrah of this generation, and boy are they going out with a V8 bang. Come on, let's have a look at this.
Of course, I have to start with a history lesson, right? Because it's me after all. And this Nissan Patrol, well, of course, it's Nissan's longest running nameplate. It was actually born in 1951, which makes it one of the nameplates that we've had on here that's actually older than Dave's. Throughout those years, it's been known as the Nissan Armada, the Safari. It's been seen as a pickup in various iterations. It's also been the Ford Maverick, the Infiniti QX80. Wherever you are in the world, you'll know this thing has many different names, but through it all, it's been a proper, large off-road vehicle, which brings a lot of luxury to it as well. Large, it certainly is, because dimensionally, it measures in at about 5.1, 5.2 meters long. The width is just shy of 2 meters, and the height again is something like 1.95. So this is a seriously large vehicle. And with a vehicle like this, presence is everything. And Nissan have done their job at the front here. So you've got all those chrome lines running across the new Nissan badge, which is very prominent, of course. And these LEDs at the front, which have actually 55 LEDs in and around there to give you all that more power and dominance on the road, especially at night. Patrol badge on the side over there, of course, in chrome. And this V8, it's one of the few vehicles in this category that you can still have with this powertrain, something a Land Cruiser doesn't. As you keep walking down the side, just look at the height there. This is a large vehicle, and it is everything about it is large, even those mirrors. Chrome door handles and a nice side step, because if you are a little bit vertically challenged, it makes it easier to get in. We might make jokes about the kind of people that have access to a Nissan Patrol, but when the color is called gun gray, I'll best to reserve any comments, I think. Continuing with the theme of this car, it is of course large, big, chrome filled, and the rear pretty much speaks to that. So you've got a big chrome bar across the back. Of course, Patrol, very prominent. It is a significant nameplate for Nissan, and they've made no moment to hide it in any way. The taillights are now boomerang shaped and LEDs. There's 44 of them hidden in there to give you a real sort of unique look at nighttime, especially. When you pop open the boot, you do get access to a huge amount of room, and not to forget, this is a 7-seater vehicle. So when you do pop those 2 back seats up, the third row does have a decent bit of leg room as well. Anyway, speaking of things that are big and expansive, there's something of that nature hiding under the bonnet. So let's take a look at that. As with the outside, Nissan make a big deal of this thing being powered by a V8. And frankly, as they should, because this is one of the few vehicles in this category where you can get a powertrain like this. And what it gives you is 298 kilowatts of power and 560 Newton meters of torque. Now, obviously, it's a petrol-powered V8 in a car like this, so we're not going to bother with efficiency or carbon emission figures. All you need to know is it will tow 3.5 tons of braked, well, whatever you have, a caravan, a trailer. It'll just pull that and frankly, probably move the earth when with your foot down. Something that's as big and expansive as the engine and the power it produces is the interior. And Harry's in there to take you through some of those bits and pieces, especially where the luxury is concerned.
And Matt's right, because if space is the reason why you're going for the Patrol, there is no shortage of it in here. It is a seriously massive cabin, which is really helped by the fact that the windows are so large. You can see how far down my arms can come here if you want to drive with your elbow sticking out of the windows and all of that. But it gets this mix of being in a expansive space and also, of course, bringing all the visibility and all the ability to sort of stretch out and bring all of the stuff with you as you are going for those longer drives. This generation of the Patrol has been in the market for some time, so Nissan have been making small improvements to it to keep it still relevant for 2025. And in this specific model that we have in here, the first thing that we see as a new addition is this chestnut interior inlay that you see here. It goes from door card to door card guard, bringing this elevated sort of inlay that goes across the dash to make it feel a little bit more premium. The same thing happens then here in the armrest that covers what you get in terms of storage for your cup holders and also everything for the switch gear that we will cover in a bit. In terms of the seats, you also get this option here with the quilted leather that really does make it feel a little bit more premium. The seats are a little bit flat, but that might be exactly what you are expecting for a big SUV like this, and it's great that it has so much adjustability, all of that electric. And talking about this center console in here, in terms of the storage for the armrest, you get this cubby here that is refrigerated, so you can keep your drinks cooled and all of that. And then just in front of that, alongside all the storage, you get, just look at that, so many physical buttons. That's great to see in 2025. Not only do you get a really good to interact with gear selector, but also everything that has to do with the infotainment we'll cover in a bit, but also your four-wheel drive modes. By using this rotary selector here, you can go from 4 high to 4 low, lock the rear diff, and then even go for some rock crawling specific modes, or even to go on the sand, which is something that is really connected to the history of the Patrol in certain parts of the world. Alongside all of these changes here to the center console, one of the big things that they've done is to also update this new infotainment suite that now brings this 12.3 screen that is all controlled either by the touchscreen or by this rotary selector down here. So come with me and let's have a look at that. They have created this split implementation where you always get this bigger widget here on the side, and then you get access to the rest of the settings and the things you can see always at the reach of your hand. So you can see here that as I flick through the different panes, this is what changes, but this widget always stays here on the side. I can customize what it shows by going through these options here. I'll leave it to the clock because I like the look of it. But then if you want to go through the different settings and the different options that you get, there is always this menu here down below where you can go through whatever it is on your phone that is playing your media, or also bring up the inbuilt satellite navigation. And then if you want to go back, you can then pair your phone, which has wireless CarPlay and Android Auto. And then if you go to the settings, this is where you can get a little bit deeper in terms of the customization, changing specific things for the menu, how you want to interact with your voice assistant, or even do updates or install different Nissan specific apps. And as part of this new suite of driver assistance that Nissan have added to the Patrol, you get access to a parking sensor front and rear and a 360-degree camera that will really help maneuver a truck of this size. However, there is no quick way to access these things from here. For that, you have to use the lovely rotary knobs and buttons that you get on the center armrest, and the majority of the changes that you will see will actually show in the driver's cluster in front of you. So for that, come with me and let's have a look at how those things look. So with the driver's gauges here, one of the things that really screams to me as a Nissan owner is how familiar everything feels. The switch gear, the buttons you press, and even the layout of everything is very reminiscent of other Nissan cars from just this generation, which is exactly what people will be expecting from a Patrol and from a car that they expect to really go the distance. So you get here this view with the two analog gauges on either side, one being the tachometer and the other one being the speedometer. And then in the middle, you actually get like a reasonable sized screen that will show the majority of the information you want to see while driving. So you can flick through those different panes by using this button here on the steering wheel. So you can get a compass, you can get the information about your media, and then even off-road information such as your tilt and what the wheels are doing underneath you, auxiliary gauges that will talk about information that is important while you are going off-road, because we must not forget that this is one of the skills of the Patrol. And then of course if you're towing as well. And then everything that has to do with your ADAS systems, which is then interacted by using the right spoke of the steering wheel. You get adaptive cruise control, emergency braking, really making for a more comfortable drive while you are on the road. And then when you want to go for those serious off-road bits, you get access to everything that the Patrol is packing in terms of its off-road technology. And as I mentioned before, everything about that you would get to interact by using this rotary dial here on the center armrest. And then what it does is that it allows you to go from auto to then use 4-wheel high or 4-wheel low. And all of these things you will then get feedback in the driver's cluster, so you know exactly what mode you're using and how it is interacting with the drivetrain that is underneath you. Speaking of the diffs, you can also lock the rear diff like this, and then you will see it go blinking there on the cluster as well. And then once you are in this mode, you then get access to everything for the more tailored off-road modes. In this case, you get sand, on-road, snow and rock modes, and then the ability to also go with your traction control off and use hill descent control. So of course there is plenty of capability in here. After all, this is a V8 leather frame SUV, so all the credentials for a proper off-road are there, but also an off-roader that can handle the on-road with very good manners and quite a bit of luxury added to it as well. So let's go on a drive and test all of that out.
Now, as Harry pointed out, that this Patrol comes loaded with off-road technology and the capability for sure. I mean, just look at the sheer size of this thing, and then the height of it, the amount of knobs and dials and things you get for all these 4-wheel drive functions. But remember, at the end of the day, it's more likely that this will probably spend more time on-road rather than off-road, because it is, well, a luxury vehicle, and when you get in this cabin and drive this thing, you get a feel of what that's about. You get a feel of the status and the real sort of feeling of superiority you get when you're behind the wheel of one of these, or, you know, sitting in the passenger seat as well.
Yeah, I really like this thing that they go for with these big leather frame SUVs, that everything feels substantial and everything that you touch has that little bit of that effort to it, but not in a bad way, in a way that really makes you feel like it is something butch, it is something big, it is something that will last forever, and it applies to pretty much everything that you get in here. I love that there is so much to interact with, be it in terms of the knobs for everything that is physical. The steering feels like something that you would get in a truck of this size. All the touch points, so good.
Even though the steering wheel is relatively light, I have to say, you still feel like you are moving a vehicle of this size. It still gives you that feeling of, okay, I've got to put some effort into this because it's turning, you know, a 3-ton machine sort of thing, or near enough. And even as a driver and passenger, whether you're in the rear seat, frankly, you feel like you're in something substantial. You feel high up no matter where you are in this car. You're looking down on everybody else. I guess it's part of the appeal of the Patrol, right? And it certainly delivers where that's concerned.
Yeah, this thing of looking down on is something that you absolutely get, which is helped by the visibility that we covered earlier. There's just so much glass everywhere that you look, and you really benefit from this being on the other rows as well. They don't feel cramped. You get a lot of comfort and visibility, and you could really do a big trip with 6 people here, towing something at the back, no problem at all.
Now, I think luxury is not just about the materials inside, and while yes, this Patrol is very nicely appointed in here, I mean, both of us are enjoying very warm seats, I have to say, on a cold day like today, for example. It's about the way the car performs and delivers on the road, and this is a relatively open pore coarse tarmac surface almost that we're driving on right now, and it's so hushed in here. The suspension is very compliant, even though this is not an aerodynamic looking vehicle for sure, but even before, when we were at speed on the motorway, very little wind noise, and it's not like it's a completely still day today. There is a bit of wind about. So it defines luxury from all of those things, and then you add that V8 into the recipe, and it just makes everything a bit more special, right?
Yeah, it's a perfect recipe for smoothness and comfort, be it off or on, in this case, on road. Because you're totally right. Yes, it has the off-road capabilities sort of corroborated by the 18 feet that we have here. They don't even look 18 because this is so big and it has so much tire. But then, of course, when you mention about the warm, it has to be like one of the warmest bits of all of this is this warm tone that you get from this V8. After it goes over 3,500 revs, just listen to this. It's so good. And it's sort of a dying breed at this point, and it comes with this old school charm that you get from this in everything that you see and that you touch. And to me, the V8 is just the cherry on top.
And again, yes, just the fact that this has a V8 doesn't mean it's a performance vehicle. The way the engine has been tuned to deliver that power is in a very different style. It's meant to be smooth, it's meant to be comfortable, it's meant to have enough power to pull something like this along and to tow whatever you have behind you as well, but not to, it's not about chasing not to 100 times and things, even though, you know, on YouTube there's plenty of videos of Arabs adding 2 turbos to these things, and you know, they go 1,000,000 miles per hour. Out the factory or out the gate, these things are meant to be large, luxurious off-road vehicles, and they certainly are capable, I think, all around. Let's talk about the history a little bit now, because the Patrol is a significant nameplate for anybody who knows Nissan, and for somebody like myself growing up in Africa, if you had one of these, you were the business, let's say, in some, you know, however you may define that. And I think even today, you know, 20 years on from my first time seeing one of these things, I think the status and all of that, the prominence in the Nissan lineup, if I think about what is the ultimate Nissan off-roader or the ultimate in their luxury vehicle lineup, I think you have to look at the Patrol and say that this is it.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, it is a completely different outtake on this, but still very interesting in the sense that I had never seen or heard of a Patrol prior to coming to New Zealand. So my first interaction with it was seeing so many of the older models being used off-road and being loved by people. This is a car that has built a legacy, and Nissan knows about this very well. And that's why they have stuck to a formula that works. It feels very old school. You get many knobs, you get a V8 under the bonnet, you get this sort of a tried and true kind of formula that I really think works for what people want out of a Patrol. I really like it.
And I think you touched on a really interesting point there, because over here in Auckland or in New Zealand, you get plenty of those younger people who have older Nissan Patrols or Safaris, as they're called, lifted and, you know, off-road ready, which they use passionately, and certainly the enthusiast community is very passionate about it. But if you go, as mentioned, on YouTube, you see similarly in the Middle East, for example, or Latin America or wherever else, Africa, even the enthusiast communities exist there as well for the Patrol. So it's a car that weirdly spans, you know, the global aspect of car enthusiasm, which you can say there's not too many nameplates that have such an appeal, especially where off-roaders are concerned. Navigates that fine line between being luxurious while also being, you know, a car that you're okay with taking off-road and that you're okay with getting dirty.
And it's so comfortable. Usually these bumps that we have here on a normal car, they will really send a lot of vibration inside. Here you can barely feel them.
So we've talked a lot about the luxury aspect, the on-road aspect of the Patrol, and it, you know, as you've seen, delivers really well for both of those things. But let's try something different. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and put it into rock mode. Oh, well, not try, I'm going to put it into rock mode. And I'll get the system to go into 4 low range. And I'll also engage that diff lock. So this is really the kind of ultimate off-road setup, if you like, where this Patrol is concerned, where you're really getting the car to work hard and to be sensitive to its changing surroundings. Looks like it's made the changes for me. So now I can stick it into drive and move off, and you can feel how interestingly the power delivery has changed so much now, with the accelerator pedal being so dulled down, and then
Yeah, you can see you can feel the rear wheel dragging because of the locked diff, and the wheel speed that it expects from the low range is so low, which is exactly what you want if you're rock crawling. You want to have a lot of control on the accelerator pedal. That's cool.
it does have a helical LSD at the back to really further improve that traction off-road, I think, and the ability to split the power between the wheels and to really give you the ability to kind of go anywhere. And the other thing is you can change the camera views around to see different aspects of the car if you are in a particularly tricky spot and you obviously don't want to scratch your car or ding the doors and things like that. It gives you a lot of different options here from which to view your car and ensure that you're going off-road but safely.
And of course, having a leather frame, it really helps with being off-road, making sure that the tires are in contact with the mud or the trail as much as possible. It's a really capable truck.
So there you have it, Nissan's Patrol. This is probably the last hurrah of the V8 as times and the car market certainly keeps changing. But I think as a last hurrah, what an effort they've made in terms of it's off-road capable, it's luxurious, it's well equipped, and then you have that engine, of course, so special.
Yeah, it really is. Special definitely is the word in here because it is a dying breed, and I don't think that you can get this anywhere else at this point in time. Yes, there are competitors and they will be taking a little bit more of a boxy off-road kind of look or maybe a more luxurious kind of look. This sits right in the middle, and the price is right comparing whatever else you see out there. Of course, this V8 is so lovely, and it has all the capability to sort of back this idea of being a proper off-roader. I really like it.
And in gun grey, it also sends a message. And why don't you send us a message by dropping a comment below and hitting that subscribe button.
See you next time.